February 28, 2020 is hereby called to order. Ms. Corleen, please conduct roll call.
Councilman Jones. Here. Councilman Adams. Here. Councilman Grow. Here. Vice Chair Melvin. Here. Councilman Wendell. Here. Councilman Perilou. Here. Chairman Otan.
Here.
Councilwoman Boudreaux. Here. Councilman Lorraine. Parish President Chasson.
Very good. We have a full house. Thank you very much, Ms. Corleen. If everyone could please rise, we'll be led in the invocation by Councilman Jones and in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Adams.
Please recite the Lord's Prayer.
Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'd like to thank everyone for attending our meeting tonight, and we certainly encourage you to engage us if you so wish to do so. As I mentioned, anyone wishing to address the council can fill out a blue form in the front. I'll also ask for public comments after each of one of our resolutions. If anyone would like to, after each one of our ordinances, if anyone is interested in commenting on an ordinance. Okay, with that said, we'll move to item A, approval of minutes. Number one, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the January 14, 2020 regular session. Got a motion by Councilman Perilou, second by Councilman Grow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item B, Lafourche Parish Outstanding Citizen. We have anyone, Ms. Corleen? We have no nominees, which brings us to item C, presentations and our updates. Your agenda shows item 2, Mr. Harris Griffin, Chairman, Lafourche Parish Fire Protection District number 9, to present an annual report. However, my understanding is Fire Chief Spence Crisoni is going to give us that annual report. Spence, just make sure the mic is on. You have to turn the button on. And remember, just state your name and address for the record.
Spence Crisoni, 213 Dufferin Street, Gaines, Louisiana. First off, I want to thank y'all for hearing me out tonight. Fire Protection District number 9 is actually Ward 8. It's in Corey Perilou's District 6. We currently serve about 400 homes, about 1,300 people. We collect approximately $58,000 in ad valorem taxes. We run off of a budget of about $70,000. We currently have outstanding debt of $174,238.82 for a pumper. We have another note that is due for $24,891.26. This is an annual debt occurring in February. We renewed the contract with the fire company for $4,500 a year. We have a signed engagement letter with Brandy Kern, CPA, so she can monitor our books. We repaired and maintained the trucks as necessary, and our volunteers are doing a lot more training than ever before. Last year we had 1,577 hours of training. With all the volunteer hours that we do, the fire company actually put back to the community almost $70,000. I, as chief, give a report on a monthly basis to this board on everything that we do. Last year, we had 210 calls for service, which was 78 fires, 79 motor vehicle accidents, 47 medicals that we responded. Now, this number is really high, but we support everybody around. We have some station repairs that we've actually approved to get done. We're just waiting on the contractor to actually get them completed. One of our pumpers needs a few little bits of equipment that we plan on purchasing this coming year. We also had a generator donated to the fire company that would actually power the fire station. We're also got some dry hydrants that need to be reworked on Dufferin and Cypress Villa. Some of the work that had been done in the area actually damaged them, so we got to come back and actually fix that. We also got a tower donated that's actually going to go up in the back of the fire station. And the fire company also got a pumper actually donated to them from by a Delarge. Any questions, guys and ladies?
Anybody, any questions for Spence? Go ahead, Daniel.
Yes, Spencer, on listening to your report, man, what type of millage y'all collect?
7.7, I believe.
7.7? And what kind of reading y'all have?
A 4.
4? That's pretty good. You think that y'all could get some millage cut? I'm just asking. Don't panic.
Yeah, I understand, but right now
I'm just trying to make a point.
we actually have $35,800 in a capital outlay fund. This is a fund that we're going to try and pick up monies for our next purchases on vehicles. The current one that we have now, we had a pumper that went bad on us, and we had to get one right away. So we're indebted at this point, but we'd like to pay it out first. And we have not put to that account in over 2 years.
But I listened to your report. I could see the amount of money you get. Lucky you get some donations besides the property tax. So I don't see anywhere where you could probably cut.
No,
That's just my opinion.
no, I don't.
And that's all I'm going to ask.
Anything less than what we're getting right now, we're gonna have to cut something major. Right now, we have a whole bunch of apparatus that, for the size of our community, realistically, we only need one pumper and one service truck by rating. However, because of situations that we've been dealing with for a long time, we actually have to have 2 pumpers and 3,500 feet of LDH, of hose, so we can supply the needed fire flows that we need for our buildings.
If you actually start losing
If I
pumpers or whatever,
If I start losing pumpers,
your ratings are going to go back and go up.
we're gonna go to a 10.
Okay.
New rating would go to a 10, it'd be the max.
Mr. Jim Wendell.
Spence, I don't have any questions. I just have a statement to make. I've been in the fire service 25 years. A couple months ago, I had the pleasure of attending I guess a mini school, for lack of better terms, that you had put on in Thibodeau with some of your guys. Was able to work some of your equipment, meet some of your guys, to see the dedication that some of your volunteers had. A lot of volunteer fire companies say staffed by professionals, and I'd like to just give a hats off to you and your guys. Thank you for the service that you provide to the citizens of Lafourche, to Gaines, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo Councilman Wendell, Spence. As you know, fire chief of one of the 11 fire departments in this parish, we're all appreciative. For those who don't know, Spence also serves as the vice president of the Lafourche Parish Fire Chiefs Association, of which he's been heavily involved for a long time. And he's also an instructor, Councilman Wendell mentioned, but Spence also conducts training to all the fire departments up and down the parish as a LSU FETI instructor. So thank you to Gaines. Tell Harris, thank you for, I'm sure he worked on a little bit of this report, so as unfortunately he wasn't able to make it, but thank y'all for everything y'all do, Spence. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Spence, if you have a copy of those records, can you get a copy of them, Ms. Carleen, for the minutes, for our record? Thanks again. Okay, item 3, Mr. Robert Landry, Director of Lafourche Parish Recreation District Number 8, to present an annual report. And Mr. Amen, same thing. If you could please state your name and address for the record, we'd appreciate it.
Good afternoon. I know a lot of y'all, some of y'all know me about nicknames, and I have a bunch of them, but my real name is Robert Landry. I reside at 2121 Highway 654 in Gaines. I really don't have a financial statement to give to y'all because I don't know what we have. We're working on that right now. I think we have a meeting Monday with Mr. Chesson to determine, with consolidation, we really don't know right now what we have. So we're working on that. I'm going to make a comment that in y'all November 12th meeting, when y'all discussed returning the monies to the respective districts that qualified, a statement was made that one district didn't represent or come here before you for 2 years to give me a financial statement. And I knew that comment was directed to my district. And I just want to say that before consolidation, I stood at this podium every January, giving y'all a financial statement, telling y'all what we took in the prior year, what we spent, and what the balance was. And then I told y'all what we were planning on doing for the next year. Now, with consolidation, I was told I no longer have to do that. That's why you haven't seen me for 2 years. As far as activities last year, we still had our 6-week summer program. We had our Easter egg hunt, we had our Monster Mash, and we have adult recreation twice a week, but then that's been four nights a week with the biddy teams. I understand the gyms are hard to get in Racing and Lockport for biddy teams, and we take an overflow, which we don't mind at all, because our kids go to Racing and Lockport also. In March of last year, you council people voted to reestablish recreation districts, and we went to work right away. We reestablished our local board, consisting of Freddie Bro III as chairman, Jeremiah Champagne, co-chairman, Cody Gotro, George Sapie, and Damian Babin making up the rest of the board. We had to open a new checking account because our old checking account had ran out. And that's like buying a home nowadays, opening a checking account, but we did it. And then in the duration of the consolidation period, our millage expired. And we had no choice but to find out if the residents of Gaines wanted to vote on the millage again for us. I remember Mr. Bo Melvin making a comment a year or so ago about when he brought up the fact of term limits, that it was the democratic way of doing things, going to the residents of the parish to vote on it. So we did that. And it passed 257 to 48, by the way. As far as activities for this year coming, we got a lot to catch up. Our tennis courts have to be completely redone. We have sinkholes. I guess that's where trees used to be or something. We got to redo the whole tennis courts. We got fences to redo. We got LED lights to replace. Playground equipment we hadn't put in for 2 years. Pavilion upgrades, ballparks. So we're looking at $250,000 of work to be done to catch up. That's it, fellas.
That's a very thorough report, Mr. Hellman. Mr. Daniel?
Same question. Y'all just recently went for your millage, the people gave you your millage?
Yes, sir.
So how much millage?
I think 9.96.
9.96? And that brings in 60?
60, 75.
60,000. Now, you got to remember, when we went to consolidation, I just think that it wasn't given enough time, but that's just me. And somebody's going to have to take the bull by the horn. And I hope it's going to be this administration. Somebody has to be in charge. You had 4 districts that had their own tax out of 8 districts.
Yes, sir.
But it's your money. So whatever you had in that account should still be there. Probably about 350, I would think.
I sure hope.
Yeah, they can't use it anywhere else because it was in that district.
That's correct.
It's like a taxing district. So it's going to be there. But you take like Recreation District 3, we don't have an extra millage. So anything that they decide that they want, we got to come to the council. So why they have to come to the council and then the board just does basically what they want? That's the way I see it. So somebody's going to have to be in charge.
What board has to do what they want?
Your recreation board,
Okay.
okay?
That's why we have it, I think. right?
And let me ask you a question. You got a 5-member board?
Yes, sir.
Anybody paid on there?
No, sir.
Nobody's paid,
No, sir.
okay? Not at all,
No, sir.
okay?
Voluntary.
You answered my question.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, I want to, let me just make this.
Go ahead, Mr. Robert.
When we consolidated, I think that the main objective was to save the parish money. Well, let me give you all an example of how that didn't work. From our Monster Mash, I don't know if you all know about Monster Mash, one of our biggest projects. We set up 30 tables around our walking track. I started off putting the $80 a candy, and you get less and less for your money, so I'm up to $120 a table now. We let the kids walk around off the streets, trick or treat. Sleeker and Asha, they bring all kind of extra stuff. Then we bring them to the pavilion. We feed them hot dogs and chili. Well, when consolidation took place, we could no longer shop at Walmart, Sam's, and Academy. Those three entities don't take purchase orders from Lafourche Parish government or checks. That puts you in a bind. We had to order the candy through mail order houses. Jennifer Dufresne, who does a wonderful job, spent $7,200 and got half the candy I get. I had to use my own personal credit card, go get some more candy so I wouldn't be embarrassed. We didn't save the parish no money by consolidating, as far as I know, okay? Just a thought.
Yeah, agreed. And several of the council members are still up here that made the decision, me being one of them, that we thought, you're right, we were convinced that it would save, and which is why we did the 180 and realizing that it didn't work. And I know some people said give it more time, but unfortunately, the kids that are in the programs right now want to benefit from the programs right now, not tomorrow. There's a lot of short timers, so it's time to get these programs back going again, Mr. Robert. Okay. And I thank you for being an advocate of that, because you've been one of the most verbal. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Robert? Mr. Daniel?
I just want to say that regardless if you have a taxing district, we have the parish-wide tax, you got to follow the process. There's a process you have to follow. You can't just take money and go shopping where you want. Somebody has to keep track of all that. Too many kids in this parish have been ripped off with recreation, and I'm not afraid to say it, I just said it. Too many kids. Just read the newspaper and see how many were in trouble over the last 5 years.
Game's been messed up, I can tell you.
You know? And that's the point I'm trying to make. Somebody has to take the lead, and there's a process you have to follow. Whether you got a district tax or a parish-wide tax, somebody got to be in charge.
We're proud of the way we manage our money as a gains.
The overall thing is, Mr. Daniels looking at it from a perspective, they're getting ripped off money-wise. But from your perspective, there's less benefits that's being provided to the community right now. And I think most of us see that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, Mr. Wayne Gocho, General Manager of Lafourche Parish Water District Number 1, to present an annual report.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Gocho, 429 Fantastic Acres Boulevard, Richland, Louisiana. I'm the General Manager for Lafourche Parish Water District. Each of you have a copy of the full report in front of you. I will just kind of summarize the report, not to bore you with all the list of projects that's on it. If you have any questions, I attach my card. Feel free to call me at any time. I could discuss a specific project or a street or anything that you might have a question over. Just to kind of highlight some of the few things, this past year, the Water District, we produced approximately 3.7 billion gallons of water, or roughly about 10 million gallons a day of potable water from both our North and South plants treating water from Bayou Lafourche. Port Pouchon continues to be our biggest customer base. We, on average, sold approximately 1.3 million gallons a day. That water is used for everything for the export industry and stuff. So they continue to be our biggest customer. Just to show you what we deal with the state and federal rules and all that, we flush approximately 1 million gallons a day to keep up with the state standards and rules. So it takes a big effort through our guys, and while that number seems high, it's a lot lower than what it used to be. But through automatic flushing devices, draining tanks, and actual manual flushing with our guys out there going out, you know, to keep and meet the new standards that's forever changing. Kind of bringing up the flushing thing, I had spoke with Archie earlier. The fire districts, they included a lot now flushing because the new fire rules, or every hydrant, if I'm correct, every hydrant has to be flushed once a year. So with some coordination with the parish and all that, we'll try to start coordinating some of the routine flushing we're doing with the testing of their fire hydrants and stuff. So try to be a group effort to try to save on some of the flushing that we have to do. Moving on to the completed projects that we've done this year. The past year we installed approximately 60 feet of 8-inch water line at a cost of about $2.25 million. Another $1.5 million of non-water line work, buildings improvements, valve upgrades, lighting. We did a lot of LED lighting. We're trying to upgrade our lighting systems in our plant. Some of these plants are getting old. Our ongoing construction, we approximately got $2.5 million of new water line construction with an estimated 29,000 feet of new water line that's ongoing, and roughly another 800,000 of non-water line work that's ongoing. Design work, we got approximately $2.3 million of water line work for an estimated 23,000 feet of new water line under design. Included in our design work, we actually received a couple of capital outlay projects last year. It's one of the first time the Water District received that. One of them is through the parish for some water line improvements in the Kramer area. And another one, we actually received it, is to do some water line work in the South Lafourche area. The senator in the area had applied for it, and about $745,000 worth of water line work. So hopefully get about 3 miles of new water line installed with some capital outlay work. We have enough of roughly $12.5 million of non-water line work. A big chunk of that, we are in the process of designing the upgrade of our north plant. That's where most of the growth is at in the parish. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be ready to go out to bid and stuff. So a big chunk of that money is part of that, the plant expansion, and we are in the process right now of upgrading or actually expanding or building a new office at our south plant. We're growing, and that often hasn't been upgraded since '87. Water line replacement is a lot of what we do. I know there was some discussion before the council that was brought up, why we receive grants or why the parish is getting grants for the parish. There's a state legislation puts out a community water enrichment fund. Each year, they budget so much money. Some years we get 45,000, some years it's 70,000. That money is dedicated to the parish, but it has to be used for water line work. It goes to the parish turn around, y'all voted. We govern the project, we do all the inspection work, we design and bid it, and we pay our share. You know, if you look at the numbers and stuff last year, we received about $90,000 worth of grants, but the water district share is about $155,000. This year, we're currently working on a couple of projects. The grant total is $39,000, and the water district share is $155,000. So we'd be foolish to, decline the grants, because if not, the state's just going to take the money back. Unfortunately, y'all can't do nothing with it. It has to go through water systems and stuff. Town will go to Medic and apply for it, but most of the time it comes through the water district. Then finally, the final page of the report is our estimated income statement for our budget year ends June 2020. If you look at it, our capital budget is $15 million. Our expense in operating budget is $8.3 million. Couple of things I just took over almost quite a year ago, trying to move us forward. We finally got our own website. It's up and running. And also, we're upgrading our billing and accounting system, which we finally going to have credit card payment, which I know a lot of times there's a lot of complaints that we get. So we'll be able to take credit card payments and do stuff online and stuff. So we're kind of moving forward, and hopefully that'll smooth things over with a lot of the customers that we get that, not able to pay with credit card and stuff. And finally, I want to acknowledge our guys and gals that works for us. There's 69 full-time employees that work in our administration, purification, distribution department, and also our board. We're kind of out of sight, out of mind. We work 24/7, hurricanes, floods, cold, just like everybody else, and people don't realize it, until you turn the faucet on and either there's no water coming out of it or that's cloudy water. So I appreciate the hard effort that our guys and gals give. And with that being said, if there's any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Grove.
When you go to the credit card processing, will you have a processing fee when you start taking credit cards?
Right now, we just in the process, we just signed a contract with a government agency that does processing and all. We haven't gotten to that point. There is going to be a third party. We could absorb that fee if we want, or we can pass it on. We haven't gotten that far yet.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Wendell.
Mr. Gotro, just a quick question. You said your biggest customer south was Port Fourchon?
What's that? I'm sorry.
The biggest volume customer you guys had was Port Fourchon in the south end?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that because they fill up tanks on boats to supply the offshore oil and gas?
Some of them mix it with the mud, the high quality of the mud that they use for the export industry and all. It basically almost needs potable water, but there's nowhere else to get it from.
Right.
With the brine and all that and stuff. So yeah, most of it, some of it is mixed on site. Most of it goes onto boats and sent offshore.
My question stems in the last probably 2 weeks. There's been quite a bit of conversation back and forth, and I've been contacted by quite a few people to give opinions or professional statements on the impact that Port Fourchon has, and I was just trying to get some clarity that you guys, you know, are one of the lifelines that help support the
I can
offshore oil
tell
and gas.
you, we took a hit for the oil spill. I mean, we used to average over 2 million gallons a day. And, you know, we sell that water at a premium because it costs a lot to get it that far south.
Right.
But we've been lucky, we've been able to kind of rearrange some of the things that we're doing and hadn't really taken a hit on the customer side because we didn't have to raise our rates. We just kind of cut back on some of the things that we were doing. So we're selling not quite $1 million less a day, you know, and when you're selling at a premium, it is a big difference. But,
Right.
but it looked like it's finally stabilized. It's been about 1.3 for the past year and a half, you know.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lorraine,
I'm not gonna leave you out. Your millage,
Yeah,
Three-
3.57,
how much?
3.57.
Okay,
Collect anywhere from about 2.5 to $3 million a year.
I talked to you a little bit before, you kind of straightened me up a little bit. The city of Thibodeau doesn't take any water from that plant.
No.
So evidently, the city of Thibodeau doesn't pay the millage.
I guess.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I'm just asking. But I could tell you one thing. I've dealt with you. I've dealt with just about, well, from Eldenboro till you. And by y'all putting down those water lines with them fire hydrants and down them streets, that has improved a lot throughout the parish. And I'm sure it helps the fire districts on the ratings. Because imagine streets that have fire hydrants versus some that don't have them. Of course, not every one of them has them, but y'all do a good job of doing this project. And y'all keep spending more and more money every year doing that. So the plant in North Lafourche takes care of the people north of the city, right?
Basically from South Coast Gas north
Okay.
and Bayou Blue.
And so I imagine if Thibodeau's not getting the water from it, they shouldn't be paying the millage. I mean, that's just my opinion. And everybody else is. So if that millage was cut, would it, you'd probably have to go up on the rates.
Right, correct.
So you're caught in a situation where if you cut, then the people gonna pay.
Yeah. The millage
But y'all
has
do a
been the
good
same.
job. When I get some complaints, I go direct to your office. Y'all take care of it. I gotta give you that. And I'm sure you still want that millage. Y'all never really increased that over the years. Y'all basically kept what you always had.
No, it's been 3.57 since I've
Yeah.
been there, and I've been there
Yeah.
23 years. So we've had chances to roll it forward. What we try to do a lot of time is called revenue neutral. We run our expenses and all that, and there's any shortage, so to speak, we'll just adjust the rates
Right.
accordingly instead of going up on the millage. But I can tell you, we hadn't increased the rates either
Right.
any in the
No,
last
no,
2
I
years.
could tell by my water bill, you know, that's probably the cheapest thing you can buy.
We are the
Unless you let the
cheapest in
faucet
the
run all the
country.
time.
Yeah.
And I think he'll do well. And the only thing I'm concerned, if millages are cut, you're definitely gonna go up on the rates.
Correct.
That doesn't take a no-brainer to figure that out.
And when you go up on
So
the rates,
let's just
everybody
hope
pays, so.
you keep what you got so we don't have to go up on the rates. And thank you for all your services, and every time I got a problem, I call y'all, and y'all take care of it. People get a little upset with the mess, but I tell them after they finish, it's gonna be better than what it was before. And some of them believe me, and some of them don't, but after it's finished, they believe me. Thank you.
anyone else have anything for Wayne? Wayne, I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for referencing your employees, because it doesn't happen often. And, you know, in the fire service, I know we call the plant in the middle of the night to ask them to boost water pressures. We having problems fighting a fire, or we have severed hydrants along 308 and Highway 1, and they have to come out there in the middle of the night and work it. So I'm glad you referenced them, and we do thank their efforts around the clock.
Yeah.
Weekends, holidays, Christmas. I know it
Yeah,
happens across all of
Kind of
them.
out of sight, out of mind. I mean, they know it's on coming in, but, yeah, and we're not a firefighting entity, but we always try to help out as much as we can and stuff. And I kind of left it out, I know we got a lot of council members. If you haven't ever seen the plant, if you want to tour the plant one day, call, and we can set something up and show you what goes on.
Very good. Thank you, Wayne. We appreciate it. Okay, moves us to item D, Legal Advisor Report. We have none. Brings us to item E, any engineers or architect reports today? Going once, twice, they all pass. Item F, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, et cetera. Ms. Carleen.
Mr. Reggie Bagala, you come to the podium. State your name and address for the record, Mr. Bagala.
Reggie Bagala, 404 Barataria Street, Lockport, Louisiana. If I go over 3 minutes, Councilman Lorraine, would you give me 3 extra minutes? Okay. I want you 3 minutes. Not yet. And I don't pay a millage, not like I pay one on my house, but I just wanted to come here and tell y'all, along with the public, a heartfelt thank you. About 3 years ago, under some difficult circumstances, y'all picked me up. I got a call from Corey, and this council hired me as the auditor. And I really want to thank y'all. It's been 3 interesting years, but it's been 3 productive years. And I want to thank y'all. I know there's 3 new ones, and the other ones were replaced. But I really, really appreciated the fact that y'all allowed me to continue doing what I love doing, and that's public service. I love it. I'm going to continue doing it. And I am going to resign today amongst doing a couple of other things. A couple of weeks ago, I took the oath for being the state rep for District 54, which I can't tell you all the honor that was, standing up there to represent my people. I love my district. And I was in D.C. last week, and I tell everybody that I have the best district in the state. I have South Central, Lafourche, Fouchon, and Grand Isle, and it is a tremendous district to represent. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we can bring everything that we can here. And I'm going to work arm in arm with y'all. And I just wanted to tell you all a heartfelt thank you for all of this. Thank you, Ms. Carleen.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
You
Lorraine.
want to be last, Daniel, or you want to be first?
No, I'm gonna make you laugh.
Okay, let's see if you can do that.
First of all, you got the job. I didn't vote for you, but I didn't vote against you. Abstain. That was just my feelings at the time. And I think you're gonna do well. And I want to leave you with this. I guess my wife's going to kill me. But we were coming back the other night, her and I, and there's construction going on 3235. They got drainage work. They got barrels all over the place. They got this, they got that. So she asks me, she said, what's going on? I says, I guess it has to do with the state. I said, that's not us. She said, Bagala at work already? And he really didn't get in the seat yet, and look what he's doing. Told you I'd make you laugh.
You did.
And that's a true story.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you, sir.
You and I had our differences, but we still gonna be friends.
It's
Okay?
not personal, it's just business.
No.
That's right.
Just remember, you said you had a good district.
I'd have a great district,
Don't
yes.
forget my area falls in there.
You're right in the middle of it. You have a good mayor, too.
So Reggie, I want to thank you from the council, from the locals, from my constituents. I supported you both as our auditor and also as a candidate for state rep. And I'm enthusiastic about you being in that role. We've already got projects I know we've discussed, and you hit the ground running. So I'm very appreciative of that, to have a voice, have somebody who's got some energy to bring to the state for our area. And so I'm hopeful that we can get a lot of things done. And I want to thank you for all the weekends and after-hour text messages and emails to help me get through some of these budget items, et cetera, on the parish council. I know you were a huge asset to the new council people, so thank you. And certainly we know it's not a goodbye, because we have a lot of work to do in our public service efforts, so we'll continue doing that. But thank you. Does anyone else have anything they want to mention to Reggie? Go ahead, Corey.
Retaining you, calling that special meeting to hire you as our internal auditor was one of my crowning moments on this council. You're a valuable member to our community. I hate to see you go as our internal auditor because, man, you kept us out of some trouble in the last 3 years. You shined a light where it needed to be shined. You used some auditing skills that we're fortunate that you possess. So thanks again for your great service. District 54 is probably in the best hands that it could possibly be. And, you know, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And, you know, a lot of politicians tell the people, you know, y'all have a friend in Baton Rouge now. I know for a fact that we have a friend in Baton Rouge now. So you're a great public servant, and we look forward to continuing to work with you, Reggie.
Thank you, Corey.
All right, once again, thank you, Reggie.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Next, Ms. Carlene.
Mr. Wayne Ogeron, if you come to the podium, state your name and address. Remember, you have 3 minutes.
Wayne Ogeron, 4210 West Avenue C, Cutoff, Louisiana. And I'm asking a question over here about whatever happened to a petition that was brought over here before the council a couple years ago. I've looked at the minutes of the meetings and all. I know what time period it happens, but I never saw where it was given to the council over here. Being that it's missing and all, I know exactly what happened to it. It was pushed aside by the former council person with the District 8. And what I'll get into more detail about that is, what is needed besides a petition to overturn a variance? Can somebody answer me that question? If a petition doesn't work, well, how can we get what the majority of the people down the street wants? One person signed that variance, or brought it to the council rather. He got it passed. Here it is, I got 22 signatures from the original ordinance, or the original petition, and we can't get nothing done. So what does it take to rescind a variance?
So I can tell you from my perspective, from the time I've been on the council, depending on the nature of the variance and what the implications are, there could be legal issues, there could be consultations required by the district attorney. So it requires a review of the variance. We can't just arbitrarily say, this council has the ability to, I'm sure, to overturn a variance, but the problem is there may be implications. For instance, if we give a variance for somebody to build a house, saying that they don't have to install a hydrant, they build a house, and now we come back and say, well, we're removing that variance, we can't kick them out the house. So there could be implications. So my thoughts are, most variances, in my opinion, would have to be reviewed by the district attorney, our legal advisor, in terms of can it be removed or not. That's where the start would be.
I know the majority of the residents are paying for regular solid waste service, and we're not getting it. Forget about Thursdays. If the road's blocked up front, you're not gonna get it. I mean, where does our rights come into all this stuff too? And like I said, a petition doesn't count for nothing, it looks like. So it looks like there's no way to get rid of a variance once it's in books. But ordinance, ordinance,
Yes, sir.
I finally got it out right, can be modified left and right at the request of one person. Nobody notified us when that happened. I didn't find out till about 6 years ago that we had a restriction down our street. And ever since then, I've been trying to do something about it along with the other majority of the residents. And it seems like we just can't get nothing done. So we got to live with it, I guess. And hopefully, with a new administration, maybe, I was hoping that maybe something could be done. That's just my point there. What does it take to override a variance?
So my recommendation, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, would be for you to engage your council person and have them review the variance with a legal, and get a legal opinion. I can tell you from my perspective, which is again, because it's all I can discuss, there have been variances that I was against that passed here, and I had to live with them. So I feel you where you say, yeah, some variances passed, you may not like them, but we're stuck with them. I'm stuck with a couple of them that I didn't like, from my personal experience.
Supposing the council person has a conflict of interest, where do I go after that?
I would recommend going to the parish administration. Either if you issue
getting to me.
if your issue revolves around the planning commission, if your issue revolves around solid waste, whatever department that is, they can direct you that, and that's where the discussion would have to originate.
It's not the solid waste problem. I mean, they can't get to us, they can't get to us. It's not their problem. Till you get to the origination of the cause, you can do all you want and all that. It's just gonna sugarcoat it. It's not the solid waste's problem. Plus, we're paying for 24-hour ambulance service and fires. We had some have down the street, but not at the time that the road was
Somebody wants
blocked.
to relinquish some time? Mr. Wendell, go ahead, you can continue. You want to allow one of these councilmen to engage you? Mr. Councilman Grow.
I was just gonna say, start with your council member, and, you have a new one now, and then start with administration, which is new as well.
I believe she
You
has a
came
conflict
at the
of
beginning of
interest in
our
this.
term with the paperwork and showed us pictures and,
With all due
we'll
respect,
start
I think
there.
she has a conflict of interest in here.
Being-
Usually when you have a conflict, the council person recluses himself.
Yes, which is why I would encourage you to engage the administration, start there. Councilman Wendell.
Just briefly, what is it that, that you're trying to get accomplished?
Well,
Or what's the,
we have a business that seems to think they own the street. Sheriff's Department says it's a parish council problem. We have a 16-foot wide street. Sheriff's Department says they're entitled to half of the street. The freight trucks are 10-foot wide. I don't care what kind of mat you use, that's not half the street. There is ample opportunity for the business to park in between their buildings off the road. I'm not talking about them backing up the trucks or bringing the truck forward. They can park off the street and not be in the middle of the road blocking garbage trucks. Forget about a school bus. When my kids were little, we had the school bus down the street. All of a sudden, it's not wide enough for a school bus. It's not wide enough for a school bus, it's not wide enough for freight trucks.
so the problem is that
We're getting blocked
commercial
in the front of the
vehicles
street.
are blocking the street?
Well, emergency vehicle won't be able to get down the street.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, they won't be able to.
Yeah, and what you'll find, Councilman Wendell, is that many businesses throughout our parish have the same issue. This is but one, so there is a commerce issue where you have interference. I have one in my area, and I have a regular complaint about it where they block the street. Vehicles take up 6 to 7 feet, maybe 7, 8 feet. The problem is a lot of truckers are not from the area, and they just simply park the easiest place they can park. They don't park all the way on the edge. If they did, then you'd have more, but this is in Councilmatic District 7. Mr. President, could someone in DPW, if someone may be engaged, and just to relook at this issue, which is several years old?
Yeah, I mean, I'll walk around and give you my phone number. If you want to call me in the morning, we can sit down and have a discussion. If we have to rope in the DA's office, we can.
We are the only street in the parish too that's listed in the Code of Ordinance. If you look at it under section 4123, we're the only one like that. And like I said, it got passed under our nose. I've been coming to council meetings over here, and as far as I know, when a resolution or ordinance is passed, I don't see where the residents that's being affected are notified. We were never notified with that, and it wasn't until later on that I found out that, whoa,
So just as an FYI, all ordinances, all law must be publicized by law. So they are publicized.
I know
Now,
they're
whether that
publicized.
reaches everybody, whether it's, people have different ways.
I read all this stuff and all that, but not everybody reads it.
Well, and how do you?
And that's just
so
the
this
way it
that-
is.
And that's a debate that hopefully our new state representative can help us in, because we spend, believe it or not, we spend a ton of money in trying to notify the public. The problem is, what's the catch-all that answers everybody? So that is a problem for all of us, believe me.
What he needs to do right now is finish cutting the grass along the side of the road, like Daniel said last time.
I'm going to agree with you with that. But we do spend, just for everyone to know, this government spends a lot of money in advertising, and it's unfortunate, but I would agree with you that it doesn't reach many people. It reaches very, very few. And unfortunately, we're following what the state law requires, what law requires in terms, we don't have no flexibility in that.
I know that.
So we
I
have
know-
none.
I still know that because I
Yeah.
come here and I watch it. I know the operations over here. I'm learning. Y'all teaching me good. I appreciate the time.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Carleen, have anyone else?
Yes, sir. Mr. Herbert Plank, if you'd approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Mr. Plank, please remember you have 3 minutes.
I know that problem.
Herbert Plank, 131 East Main Street, Lockport, Louisiana. I'd like to address the council on a matter I have. It's been an ongoing issue for almost a year now. Since I moved into my property, I bought my property 10 years ago, I've been taking care of the bayou side in Rita along the locks of Company Canal. In March of last year, some people came by and tied a boat up along the bayou side, and it was no big deal, but unfortunately, they have proceeded to live there and just pile garbage and old vehicles and things like that. I've been to the sheriff's office numerous times, and what I keep getting told is that supposedly no one owns the property. I don't have proof that I own the property because I don't, but I was told to take care of it by word of mouth, which is the way things were done for years and years. And I just wanted to try and bring this to the matter, to attention, maybe public attention, to see if something can be done about it.
So Archie, what he's referring to, so Herb's called me quite a few times, and as a new parish president, you may or may not be aware of this. Steve Falls has been trying with the state, and I actually reached out to him because Herb left me a message while I was on a cruise, and I reached out to Steve, and he told me that he hasn't given up yet, but it's been a very slow process. And what we're talking about specifically is the mayor of Lockport has done a good job in pushing out all the squatters along the town's property. And so they have relocated, unfortunately, next to where Herb's at. And they actually are putting a burden on several of our resources in terms of first responders. But these are squatters that are staying on property that we can't determine if it's parish-owned or state. It's one or the other, and it's going to be on that right-of-way. So we're at a dilemma. These people are living on a boat. They have old broken-down vehicles, trash all over the place. And, and we've thought of maybe you go out there and we start parking parish equipment there and just blocking their entrance. Maybe that would discourage them. But we're kind of at a crossroads. I know Steve's still working on it. He's been working on it for probably a year. Because Herb engaged him as soon as it started. So it's probably been a year Steve started?
Well, I returned from my job at the beginning of March, and that's what I noticed the boat there. And I spoke with them, and, a boat breaks down, things happen. There are other boats there, things like that. It's not the boat that's the problem. I guess it is because they're living on it with no type of facilities whatsoever.
That's correct.
But it's they've encroached on the bio side, and they're just, stuff collects all over the place. They had a dog that bit me because they couldn't take care of it, and I fed it, and it turned around and bit me. They're there and they're not there. They come and go like the wind. You never know when they're going to be there. Like I said, they have no public utilities. They run a generator for power, which at night, a generator running just kind of keeps people awake.
Yes, we've had fire calls there, and then there's even been medical calls. It's a mess. But unfortunately, what happened is the state dededicated some of that road. You had the locks that was turned over to the town. So the whole area is kind of in limbo on who owns what. And I don't know if there's any way that Steve can move it along, because I know I've asked him quite a few times, and he's just trying to get information from the state on who's the actual owner. And if we can't determine that in the near term, I'm just wondering, is there any other way we can intervene as a government? And I've been down this road many a times where if you're going to push somebody out, you got to give them a place to live. You got to provide as government. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to displace them, you have to provide them with a place. It's frustrating, but that's just the way it is.
I'm wondering if we can open up some type of compliance file on him, and then, if he doesn't have any sanitary facilities, if we can get some help from DHH and some of those agencies to try to help remedy the situation quicker than with Steve, maybe as you're trying to find right-of-ways and ownerships.
So any help you get, unfortunately, so DHH would tell you cut the water to them, they don't have water. So all of the mechanisms, DEQ will generally say, let's shut the power. There's things that they don't have any of that. So to remove some of the resources or the utilities from a government angle, it may be difficult. But any help if you can please look at it. I haven't engaged you because I know there's so many other things going on, but this is a nasty one. It really is.
Okay. We can do that.
So we'll stay on it, Mr. Herb. I know it's frustrating for you, and believe me, as a fire chief of the area, it's disturbing, to say the least.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Herb.
That's my last one.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Corleen. So this computer was updated, and now every few minutes it goes off. I don't know how you adjust that, so I'll have to get that done here pretty soon. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so now we'll move into item G, ordinances for discussion and ratification. Number 5, ordinance providing for a 2019 supplemental appropriation 19-046 within the 2019 operations and maintenance budget and capital budget to create funds 186 and 209 for the Go Mesa bond proceeds, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. This will be, Councilman Grove, can you sponsor this for me for the administration? This was deferred, that was public hearing was held at the January 14, 2020 LPC meeting. Can I get a second for that motion? Got a second by Councilman Melvin. Before we continue to discuss this, I have an amendment from the floor to item number 5. Who wants to sponsor this amendment? Councilman Grove sponsor this amendment. The amendment reads, amendment from the floor to item number 5 by Councilman Michael Grove, January 28, 2020. In the main caption, the last whereas and therefore be it ordained, paragraphs replace 186 to 320 Go Mesa 19 and add construction Go Mesa after 209. In the second whereas, replace 186 Go Mesa bond proceeds to 209 construction Go Mesa and remove $14,199,485.50 of which and shall be allocated to 209 construction fund Go Mesa bond. Remove section 1, replace section 2 to number 1. Number 1, in what is now section 1, replace transfers in 186 to bond proceed from long-term debt and $13,962,060.50 to $14,420,000. In section 1, add number 3, increase in debt services bond issuance costs in the amount of $222,630. Number 4, an increase in debt services, bank and other agent fees in the amount of $220,514.50. Number 5, an increase in miscellaneous, transfer out to 320 Go Mesa 19 in the amount of $284,795. Add section 2, a supplemental appropriation of the 2019 debt service fund is hereby approved as follows. Fund 320 Go Mesa 19, number 1, an increase in other revenues, transfer in from 209 construction Go Mesa in the amount of $284,795. That's the amendment from the floor. Can I get a second to that amendment? Got a second by Councilman Paralew. Is it possible for someone in the administration to explain all these amendments in a nutshell? Ms. Renita.
Yes, I can explain it. Basically, when it was initially brought before as a proposed ordinance, the finance department set up the funds inaccurate. After speaking with our auditors that are coming on, as well as with the banking representative with Hancock, we had to make these revisions. So the 186 basically is no longer going to exist. We had to set up a debt fund that would allow for us to pay the principal and interest on our Gamesa loan. And the 209 is the fund which all of the activity is going to be recorded with the different projects that we have set up for Gamesa. So in short, basically this is to fix what was done previously to set up our Gamesa fund correctly.
Thank you so very much. With this being an ordinance and such an important item of huge fundings, I'm glad you were able to offer that explanation. Does anyone have any discussion on this? If not, I'll put it to the public. Anyone from the public would like to discuss this amendment? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council would like to further discuss the amendment? There's no discussion. We'll vote on the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Now we'll go back to the original ordinance number 5 as amended. Would anyone from the public like to discuss or comment on the ordinance as amended? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Thank you again, Ms. Renita. Okay, item H, I'll entertain a motion to open public hearing. Got a motion by Councilman Paralew, second by Councilman Grove. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Okay, item 6. Ordinance approving the attached servitude agreement between Luton S. Becknell, Ramona Becknell Tompley, and Lucas John Becknell, and the Lafourche Parish Council, and authorizing the parish president to sign and execute a minutes of said agreement by Councilman Adams for the administration. I got a second by Councilman Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 7, ordinance approving the holding of an election in Recreation District Number 11 of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, May 9th, 2020, to authorize the levy of a special tax therein. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Grow. Any discussion from the public? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, I just want to let the people of Bayou Blue know that this tax was on for a long time. Then when we went with the consolidation, they lost the tax. So you could call it a new tax, but really and truly, it's a tax that they always had for as long as I've been here. So I just hope the public doesn't get confused with it, because they really need that to run their operations over there, and they have some fine facilities over there. So I just hope they don't get caught up with thinking it's new. You could call it new, but it's really not. And I hope they understand that.
That's right. In summation, what Mr. Lorraine is talking about is this is essentially a renewal. It fell, but it is essentially a renewal. That's correct. Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 8, ordinance amending and reenacting Section 266 of Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance of the Parish of Lafourche as it pertains to parish executive departments. Councilman Wendell moves for the administration. We got a second by Councilman Perillo. Anyone from the public would like to comment on this? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 9, ordinance to accept the subdivision known as the Ranch at Chisholm Trail into the parish system. Motion by Councilman Melvin, administration. I got a second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion by the public? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 10, ordinance approving the holding of an election in Fire Protection District Number 1 of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, May 9th, 2020, to authorize a levy of a special tax therein. On motion by Councilman Perillo for the administration. Can I get a second, Ms. Boudreaux? Got a second by Councilwoman Boudreaux. Would anyone from the public like to comment? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There be none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 11, ordinance amending ordinance number 6281, which approved the 2020 operations and maintenance and capital budget for the Lafourche Parish Council, as well as setting the salaries of unclassified employees as provided for by Article 5 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter, moved by Councilman Jones for the administration. Got a second by Councilman Grow.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Amendment. We has an amendment to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have an amendment from the floor. Amendment from the floor to item number 11 by Councilman Jerry Jones, January 28, 20. This amendment is to make changes to Community Action Table. Change Program 2, CSBG, change the CACFP Coordinator hourly rate from $32.28 to $21.59, biweekly salary from $2,582.40 to $1,727.20, and annual salary from $67,658.88 to $45,252.64. Change Community Resource Assistant to Administrative Clerk, the hourly rate from 15.276750 to 17.460000. Hours worked from 80 to 70. Biweekly salary from $1,222.14 to $1,222.20, and annual salary from $32,020.17 to $32,021.64. Change resource assistant to outreach worker, the hourly rate from 15.278000 to 17.46000. Hours worked from 80 to 70. Biweekly salary from $1,222.24 to $1,222.20, and annual salary from $32,022.60 to $32,021.64. Change the executive director's hourly rate from 24.22 to 32.28, biweekly salary from $1,937.60 to $2,582.40, and annual salary from $50,765 to $67,658.88. Change the total biweekly salary from $8,641.18 to $8,430.80, and total annual salary from $226,398.81 to $220,886.96. This is the amendment by Councilman Jones, second by Councilman Melvin. Is that the motion, Mr. Jones? You want to make any comments?
That's it.
All right. So with that said, would anyone from the public like to comment on this amendment? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Aberdeen. You got the floor. Just state your name and address for the record, if you don't mind.
Brent Abity, 563 Highway 653, Apartment 1. For going on 2 years, we've been hearing about how the advisory board has to approve and send y'all their approval on anything that has to do with community action. Yet, I haven't heard anything about the advisory board tonight, so where's the advisory board approval on this?
Excellent inquiry. Mr. Jones, can you comment on
Mr.
that?
Chairman, yeah, this is a budget process. This is the budget, what y'all proposed, our number was all wrong. So the current administration right now is correcting it.
So, thank you. So just, Mr. Jones, the advisory board is aware this is going on, I'm assuming? Have they?
Yeah, they
Yes.
knew there was some errors in that. You got a director, a yearly salary of $8,941. This was administrative mistakes.
But I'm not challenging the adjustment.
The advisory board is in play.
Because you know, for 2 years, you objected and held up everything
Yeah.
for community action, and even got the whole council
Pick it up.
sued. But now
Yeah.
tonight, we're gonna throw out all of that. And so
So-
this is hypocrisy at its finest.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. Hold on, Mr. Jones. So, but I just want to point out, though, Ms. Abbott, that last month, the advisory board, the director, not the director, the chairperson of the
Chairperson.
board was here. So they actually have been getting engaged. There is a new chairperson for that board. Is that correct, Mr.
That's
Jones?
exactly right.
So is there an approval from the advisory board at the record?
Not, I don't think on the budget they would have it.
The budget is
Okay.
the parish budget. And Mr. Abedy, you ought to know that.
All right.
What you did for 2 years.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. No, I want
You
to,
out.
yeah, I need to continue asking if anyone else from the public would like to comment on this. One time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council wants to discuss the amendment? There being none, we'll move to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Now we'll move back to the original ordinance as amended. Would anyone from the public like to comment on the ordinance as amended? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? Mr. Adams?
Yeah.
Yes,
I just
sir.
have a question.
ahead.
This is what we pay Lafourche Parish teachers?
No, no, sir, this is community action. This is a community action. Yeah,
Head
we're,
Start.
right, right.
Okay, that was,
It's
Sure.
Head Start teachers.
No
yeah.
problem. Yeah, this is community action. And it's a really complicated program, very complicated. And, sure, I would encourage you to give it Mr. Jones, because it takes a long time to explain that program. Okay, so with that said, no further discussion. Mr.
Well,
President?
what I was gonna also explain to Councilman Adams is that it covers every non-classified employee. So you'll see stuff in there for the coroner's office, our Head Start program, all the guys sitting behind me, so it covers a whole lot of people.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 9-0. I have a motion by Councilman Gross, second by Councilman Wendell to close public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. I have a motion now on the floor from Councilman Grow to deviate from the regular agenda and go to, give me a second.
Unanimous agenda.
The
A
unanimous
resolution.
agenda items. So we have a motion And I have a second by Councilman Wendell to deviate to go to unanimous agenda items. Anyone who would like to discuss that? If not, I'll move it to a vote. All in favor of deviating, go to unanimous, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So we will go to the unanimous agenda items. Give me 1 second to get to them. Okay, and so what we have tonight is we have two unanimous agenda items. I will read the resolutions, and then these do require a unanimous.
First, you have to take the vote whether or not you just deviated, that was that vote.
So we want to
Now
take the
need to
vote?
Vote to see if everybody wants to vote in that.
Okay, very good, Ms. Carleen. So we'll engage a vote to go to unanimous agenda, and it does require the full council support in order to move forward. So with that said, I will move by, once again, we have a motion by Councilman Grove, second by Councilman Wendell, and this is to approve the unanimous agenda items.
To open up the unanimous agenda.
So any discussion? Everybody's clear on that? This is a motion and a second to approve that we will entertain the unanimous agenda.
Any objection?
Are there any objections?
The unanimous
With-
agenda is open.
So just to confirm, I'm going to call it for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So 9-0, so we are allowed to go to unanimous agenda. So with that said, we'll move to item A, resolutions. Number 1, resolution approving an agreement between Duplantis Design Group and Lafourche Parish Government for architectural and engineering design services for the Nicholls State University Coastal Center Bioregion Incubator Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any all relevant documents. This is moved by Councilman Grove for the administration. Can I get a second? I got a second by Councilman Perillo. Anyone from the council like to discuss? Mr. President.
So just to give you guys a little bit of background on what this agreement actually is, in that supplemental for the Go Mesa money you guys just approved is about $500,000 to help fund the initial development of the Coastal Center at Nicholls State University. It's also being funded, and the reason for the unanimous agenda item is we're receiving a little bit of strenuous pushing from the state to help get this thing off the ground. Some of it is being paid for construction with the state's Go Mesa dollars, as well as some state surplus dollars. So what this is going to do is it's going to allow Duplantis Design Group to come in, who is already working on some other things for Nicholls as far as their drainage and some other issues that they're having with some other buildings going on. It's going to allow them to do some site selection to tell us exactly where we should put the Coastal Center on campus, as well as allow us to help get some renderings and some design work. There is an additional piece of funding that we think we're going to have to raise through some private donations or some other funds. So getting some renderings and some initial design work and some site selection will help us get down that road and eventually get this thing built. The other part of it is that there's a business incubator attached to this. So when we talk about economic development, some other discussions we're going to have later on in the agenda, the business incubator and this coastal center will go hand in hand and help us do that.
Thank you very much for that information. Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 2, resolution approving a lease agreement of 2020 Chevrolet Tahoe from Golden Motors in the total amount of $42,690.10, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any all relevant documents. This is moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. And with that said, before we discuss this, we have an amendment from the floor. And I apologize to everyone. This is a lot of unanimous and amendments from what we normally have. And I do want to recognize and thank both the administration and our council staff for getting all these items together. And I'm sure we'll improve this as we go along. So the amendment from the floor to item 2 on the unanimous agenda by Councilman Jerry Jones, January 28, 2020, is to add the trade-in of one 2013 Ford Expedition, improving in the main caption the last whereas and therefore be it resolved paragraphs. So that's a motion by Councilman Jones on an amendment. Got a second by Councilman Adams on the amendment. So anyone would like to discuss the amendment?
I'm just going to abstain from it all.
Both amendment and the vote. Okay,
that's
very understood. You can turn your light off, Mr. Melvin. Any further discussion on the amendment? There being none, we'll move it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention, that being Councilman Melvin. Now we will go back and vote on the original resolution as amended. Would anyone like to discuss resolution as amended? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention, that being Councilman Melvin. Okay, so now I will entertain a motion to close unanimous agenda. I got a motion by Councilman Melvin, second by Councilman Grow to close unanimous agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. And now I will entertain a motion to reconvene regular agenda items. Got a motion by Councilman Pearl, second by Councilman Grow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Brings us to item I, proposed ordinances. Mr. Melvin, you have the floor.
Thank you. Number 12, proposed ordinance establishing no parking on the shoulder on the south side of West 163rd Street from Highway 3235 to Avenue B, Galliano, Louisiana, Ward 10, District 9, Lafourche, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary no parking signs and providing penalties for the violations thereof. By Mr. Lorraine. Move for Mr. Lorraine. Thank you. Proposed ordinance, number 13, proposed ordinance to dedicate a drainage servitude between Lafourche Parish and Clarence J. Abear located in the Bayou Blue area in Section 24 T-16-S R-17-E, recorded with the Clerk of Court under the entry number 1024146. Lafourche Parish, Louisiana, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement. Moved by Mr. Wendell. Number 14, proposed ordinance approving the attached servitude agreement between Justin Michael Dehart, Dana LeCompte Dehart, and Lafourche Parish Council, and the authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement. Moved by Mr. Wendell for the administration.
If you don't mind, let the record reflect at 18:50, Councilman Grow left the meeting. Ms. Corleen? I'm sorry. Continue, Mr. Melvin. That's it. Okay, very good. Also at 18:15, Mr. Adams stepped out of the meeting. Anyone need to take a recess? Y'all want to keep rolling?
Keep rolling.
Keep rolling? You good with that, Ms. Boudreaux? You want to entertain a recess? Yeah, okay. I tell you what, Councilman Boudreaux is asking for a 5-minute recess. I got a second by Councilman Perilou. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent now, Councilman Grow, and 1 stepped out of the room, Councilman Adams. 5 minutes, which has been resolved. We have a motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilwoman Boudreaux to return to regular agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Okay, we are on item J, resolutions. Before I miss it, do we have any amendments to any of these resolutions? So I don't miss. Okay, thank you. Item 15, resolution appointing 1 member on the Central Lafourche Ambulance Service District Board. Councilman Melvin for the administration. Who do you have, Councilman Melvin?
Floyd Cortini, Jr.
Floyd Cortini, can I get a second? Second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 16, resolution appointing 1 commissioner on the Veterans Memorial District, Ward 10 of the Parish of Lafourche Board. Councilwoman Boudreaux for the administration. Who do you have, Councilwoman?
Gregory Bado.
Okay, Gregory Bado, second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 17, resolution approving change order number 4 from Byron E. Talbot Contract Incorporated for the project titled Duga Canal Drainage Infrastructure Improvements Project to decrease the contract price by $174,275.44 and add 99 additional days to the agreement, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any and all relevant documents. This is by Councilman Melvin for the administration, second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, I think there's only, this project is fixing to finish, and there's only 1 left, I believe, out of about 15 total. So that 174, 275, 44 cannot be used back in there because it would be a different project. So that's gonna go to the one that's left, which is the Lockport Community Center. Am I correct?
Mr. President?
I finally said something right? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is, CDBG, and these projects started a long time ago. We went beyond, on the projects that are remaining, we went beyond their deadline date several times and had to get extensions.
But I learned one thing on this. There was probably about 15 of them total throughout the parish. But whoever got done first and they had some extra money, you lost it. It went to whoever was left. So you batting 1,000.
The next one, and even more so, and why I'm lucky, Mr. Lorraine, is that the community center project was actually not an original. That was an alternative project. So it was actually not on the original list. It was alternatives in case. So it actually got bumped up when the Zalman's project got.
But I could tell you that was started before you became a councilman in 2015.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, it was way before that.
So
but yep.
Just pat Bo on the back if you don't mind.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion on this resolution? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 18, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Clean Earth of Alabama Incorporated for contracted services relative to the household hazardous material collection event, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 19, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and South Louisiana Economic Council, LLEC, for the fiscal year 2020 service fees in the amount of $35,000, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Pearl for the administration. Got a second by Councilwoman Boudreaux. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 20, resolution approving a memorandum of agreement between the Louisiana Department of Health, Office of Public Health, and Lafourche Parish Government to set up a point of dispensing site for Lafourche Parish first responders, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Pearl for the administration. Got a second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 21, resolution approving a preference buyer agreement authorizing 4 Lafourche Parish government employees to purchase surplus state property from the Louisiana Property Assistance Agency, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Perillo. Any discussion? I would just point out this is something we do every year, so this is just an annual function we go through. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 22, resolution authorizing 5 Lafourche Parish government employees to purchase surplus federal property from the Louisiana Federal Property Assistance Agency, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Perillo, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes. Out of these 5 people, are they gonna, I'm assuming they're gonna check with the parish president and administrator? They're not gonna be cut loose?
Mr. President says no, sir.
There's really one I wouldn't want to vote for, but I'm not gonna mention him.
Okay, any further discussion?
But I'll do it because y'all gonna check on it.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 23, resolution approving amendment number 3 to the agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and ES&H Consulting Services Incorporated to accommodate the contract price due to fluctuations in the Consumer Price Index, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Can I get someone to move for me? Got Councilman Wendell with the motion, second by Councilwoman Boudreaux. Any discussion? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that being Councilman Perillo, and 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Good, Ms. Carlene?
Yes, sir.
Item 24, resolution accepting the low bid of Barrier Construction Company LLC in the amount of $713,317.50 for the project titled Priority Road List 2019 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Pearlie for the administration. Can I get a second by Councilman Wendell? Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 25, resolution approving amendment number 2 to the program offered by the State of Louisiana Department of Education in order to carry out the purpose of Section 17 of the National School Lunch Act as amended and the regulations governing the Child and Adult Care Food Program, CACFP, issued thereunder 7 CFR Part 226 and Section 3 of the Child Nutrition Act of 1966 as amended, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Pearlie for the administration. Got a second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? Copy that. Any further discussion? There be none. We'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion will pass with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that being Councilman Jones, and 1 absence, that being Councilman Grow. Item 26, resolution approving an agreement between Next Move Group LLC and Lafourche Parish Government to provide a search for qualified candidates to serve as Economic Development Director and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Boudreaux for the administration, second by Councilman Pearlie. Any discussion? Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Chad Chancellor of the Next Move Group is here in the audience. If you have any questions about the firm or exactly how this is going to work. As everybody knows in the room, economic development was a huge part or a huge issue during all of our campaigns. So we want to make sure we put the right candidate in place, and I think this is the best way to do it.
Copy that. If anyone would like to talk to him here or individually, I guess after this meeting, I'm sure he would be available. Anyone would like to discuss that? Any questions? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that being Councilman Grow. Item 27, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Dr. James A. Richardson for analysis of the parish's overall tax and spending activities and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Boudreaux for the administration, second by Councilman Pearlie. Any discussion? Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who don't know who Dr. Richardson is, he's been an economist and an economy professor at LSU for probably longer than I've been alive, has served on the State's Revenue Estimating Conference for about the last 25 years, and that's the group that handles the tax analysis and the tax policy for the legislators to actually craft the budget off of. So bringing him in again, kind of like what we just did with Chad and the Next Move Group. And I know that Councilman Lorraine's been pinging me the last couple meetings and asking the pointed questions about millages. The way we're going to go down this road is not looking at cutting millages. We're not pinpointing any one particular board or commission, fire district, water district, council on aging, any one particular group. But what we are going to do is holistically look at our tax structure and how we're paying our bills and see if there is a better way to do it. So as part of this, there will be a 10 to 12 member steering committee that's going to work with Dr. Richardson. And that's going to be made up of myself, the assessor, Ms. Wendy Thibodeau, the school board superintendent, Mr. Jaron Martin, Sheriff Craig Weber. I would ask that either you, Mr. Chairman, or amongst the 9 of you, you pick 2 council members who would want to serve on this. Mayor Tommy Eshte is from the city of Thibodeau, is going to represent the 3 mayors, as well as Ms. Marguerite Knight, who's a private citizen, former chairwoman of the board for the Thibodeau Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Pete Melissaw, who I think Delyn and Daniel will recognize from the southern end. And we're also working with a couple of the large businesses, GIS, Schwess, and the Bollinger Group, to figure out if there's somebody within their organization to represent a big business kind of marine perspective.
Very good. Sounds like a good engagement, and I will comment, our tax assessor, it only happened on 1 occasion, and unfortunately should happen more often, but I know when she approached many of the boards and commissions in this parish and was desperate for us to roll back millages and whatnot, many of those boards, several of those boards, I won't say many, but several of them did roll back in trying to help the parish, so I know that could be done. That appeal was only made on a single occasion, and obviously people have things to spend, but anyway, Councilman Lorraine. Councilman Lorraine?
Yes. I think it's going to be a tough road. You don't have that many parish-wide taxes. they're basically all district taxes. And maybe the people from here don't want to pay the tax, but the people from over there want to pay it and vice versa. So you're not going to take away from a certain area and bring it somewhere else. That's not going to happen. I can tell you that. There's no way. I wish you luck. I wish I was making his salary, because I'd be one too. He's getting paid very well for doing this. Maybe he could save us some money, but I could tell you, and I'm going to make my comment like I usually make, easier said than done. Remember them comments, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. With that said, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that being Councilman Grove. And that concludes the resolutions, bringing us to item K, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, or Manager Report Presentations and updates. Number 28, a representative from the Finance Department to present a quarterly report as per ordinance 6037. And we did receive a substantial packet. If possible in the future, Mr. President and Ms. Renita, if we can possibly get that report a little earlier, that would be great. I know we're just getting caught up and it'll take some time, but the previous administration, the last 6 months started providing it, and it helps out a lot to be able to review it before the meetings.
So the one thing I want to say, Mr. Chairman, before Ms. Jackson gets to know her report, is that I know there are 2 particular ordinances that reference departments and specific dates in which they have to report. I've had a conversation with Mr. Jones. I'd like to see those 2 ordinances rescinded for a multitude of reasons. I don't think we're necessarily going to have the problem that the previous administration had with those reporting guidelines, but we are going to have to work with the council clerk, because as part of our agreed upon procedures within our audit, the finance department is required to give you guys a monthly financial report anyway. So we're going to give Ms. Carlene the wording, so you'll see that appear a little bit different, hopefully, in future council meeting agendas.
So I don't know that we need to post here per ordinance number, but, you know, and I know you did engage me via email about potentially discussing this, and this is not a bad time to discuss it, but and I hear you loud and clear, and I would agree. I think that we will be getting all this stuff timely, and that's great, and I appreciate it. But looking down the road beyond your administration, next one, I don't think this is a bad ordinance to have, because remember, we had to do a special meeting. We had to get district attorney's opinions. It was a long process to get this ordinance instituted, so I would just be mindful of that and maybe cautious. And it's not any reflection on your administration whatsoever, at least from my perspective. But I don't think it's a bad ordinance. I don't know that we have to put it on the agenda. I mean, it exists. I don't know that we have to reference that way. It could just be a report. So I would just ask you to maybe think about that and consider my perspective, if you will. Mr. Jones.
Yeah, but by ordinance it's law, so you have to do it.
That's correct. And any future administration would have to. So the process we went through of special meetings, district attorney opinions, beyond Mr. Orchie, beyond whoever, in 10 years from now, this is not necessarily a bad ordinance to have.
Yeah, in the future. But as of right now, I mean, we're getting everything we need. I mean, you can make a telephone call, we can get it. I mean, it's just been just that good since a month ago, so.
I agree. I won't argue with that. I'm just saying that it's not, their ordinance is not hurting anything at this point. Anyway, I'm sorry, Ms. Renita, do you want to present? Is it going to be Ms. Renita giving the presentation? You have the floor, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to start off with royalty. We have received everything up to, for 2019, so I will be able to do a comparison for royalty. Let me also say this. The reports that you do have that you have not had the opportunity to look at, those are the major funds that our auditors are stating as our major funds that they review heavily during the audit. You're going to see that's 2019's totals. You're going to see some of the revenue that's going to be in your reports. They're not completed because we're going to still be getting in revenue for 2019 through February. So all of our ad valorem taxes that we would collect for 2019, it's not in. So the ones that are coming in right now, it is not for 2020, it is for 2019. So we always are a year behind in receiving our collections of ad valorem. Okay, so beginning with the first slide is our royalty revenue. Total revenue for 2018 to 2019 increased by $295,049.21, which gives us a 14.36 increase. In 2019, the first quarter shows an increase of $250,138.32, which is 39.53% higher compared to the first quarter of 2018. Road Sales Tax District A. We have not received all of our sales tax collection for 2019. By the end of February, those numbers will be updated, and I will be able to tell you how we came in comparison to 2019. In the meantime, what I have done is only compared the third quarter in comparison to 2018. Road Sales Tax District A has not received all sales tax for year 2019 to give a total increase or decrease comparison for year 2018 and 19. In 2019, the third quarter increased by $105,299.23, which is a 9.8% increase. Next slide is Road Sales Tax District 2. All of the sales tax ones, including solid waste, same thing. We have not received all of our collections, so therefore I'm going to only compare the third quarter. Third quarter decreased by $24,081.04, which is a 3.65 decrease for Road Sales Tax District 2. Of course, if we get in the fourth quarter, that can change. Solid waste. In the third quarter, there was an increase of $43,192.05 with a 2.4% increase over the third quarter of 2018. Parish transportation, we did receive everything for 2019. There was an overall increase from 2018 by $39,168.14, which is a 5.61% increase. To recap everything, royalties collections was $2,055,302.15 year-to-date collected. For 2019, you had $295,049.21 year-to-date. Total that received increased in collections, and then 39.53 year-to-date percentage was increased overall in royalties from 2018. Road Sales Tax District A, again, is just a summation of the previous slides that I have had up, and it is a 9.8 increase in comparison to 2018. Road Sales Tax District 2 had a 3.65 year-to-date decrease over 2018. Solid waste, they also had a 2.4 increase over 2018, and our parish transportation overall had a 5.61 year-to-date increase over 2018. Do anyone have any questions?
Anyone has any questions for Ms. Renita? Some good information right there. Thank you so very much for that presentation. We appreciate that.
Thank
It's one of the most important ones we received. Okay, movie brings us to item 29. Mr. Dylan Barone, Department of Public Works Director, present a report. You have the floor, Mr. Barone. Am I saying it right, Barone?
Barone.
Good, Barone.
Yes, sir.
I'll get it wrong every meeting.
That's
Keep
all right,
correcting me,
not a
though.
problem.
Correct me.
You'll see a double-sided sheet I put on your, by each y'all's podium. We're gonna start on the side that says Cyprian Pump Station. What I'll do is I'll briefly read the name of the project and a 1 or 2 sentence update on it. If y'all wanna hold all questions to the end, we'll go over them after. First one, Cyprian Pump Station. We have attended multiple site visits and meetings and coordinated with the engineer and project manager to work towards the completion of this station. The Zalman's Pump Station, this is a Lafourche Levy District project, but we have met with the engineer to discuss and review the plans for it. Duga Canal was on the council meeting agenda, so no need to go over it. Percy Brown Fairway Ditch, we met with the engineer and requested a cost estimate to have this project completed. We then shared the cost estimate with Councilman Melvin as well as the administration to discuss funding. Industrial Park Drainage, in reference to that project, mainly the T-Bois Pump Station portion of it. We conducted a site visit to the pump station after receiving notice that pump 2 was fully operational. Since then, pump 3 has been declared fully operational, so all 3 are in working order. We plan to meet with the engineer next week to create a punch list, if needed, to reach substantial completion and discuss the next phase of the project, which I believe is drainage. Lafourche Community Center, we attended the January monthly progress meeting for this project. We are working with the Lockport Recreation Board to pick colors for the floor striping. The generator was installed last week, and the building is almost ready for permanent power. The Lockport boat launch. There was a kickoff meeting held earlier this month. DPW, and more specific, the Lockport Field Office, removed the existing wharf and hauled it off-site last week. The contractor was issued a notice to proceed for January 27th. The contractor began to mobilize on-site yesterday on the 27th and also started construction of the form boards for the concrete sidewalk along the dock. So it seems as though they're going to hold a tight schedule. The Priority Road project was on the council meeting agenda. Priority Road project amendment number 1. We conducted a site visit with the engineer to discuss the possibility of adding 3 streets to this project. Since the project came in under budget, we shared the cost estimate with Councilman Jones, as these streets are in his district, as well as the administration, and we're discussing funding. The roadway and drainage improvement road sales tax district number 2, phase 4L2. The contract is approximately 75% complete on this project. The contractor is currently wrapping up Hamilton Street and has moved on to Chester Lee in La Rose. The parish-wide pump station project. Yesterday we had a site visit with the engineer to discuss the project status as well as the improvement options in an effort to wrap up the design phase of this project. You will see the same exact update for the Layton pump station. Although it's not in the parish-wide pump station project, the same thing was done with it. These are some in-house projects that we've been working on. You'll see, I also gave you a updated pump station list. This was, we updated the pump station list in an effort to have info readily available for grant applications and other informational purposes. This pump station list was last updated in 2009. If you do see any issues with it, we did wrap it up today. And I did not have time to fully review it, so if you do see any issues or have any questions, let me know and we'll take care of it. The Andre Danos right-of-way and ditch clearing, I do not have it typed on here because I got this update on the way to this meeting. We have acquired all right-of-way up to the outfall canal. We are working with the landowner who owns the property that the outfall canal is on. Once we get that right-of-way, we're gonna mobilize in and start, create a work order, mobilize in and start the process of this. And then we'll get other right-of-ways as we need, but at least we'll get to the outfall canal for now. Central Lafourche Drive drainage improvements. We're gonna make a site visit either this week or next to make some final determinations and finalize the project. Delmar Farms Cross Culvert, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's the lawn property in actual Councilman Otan's district. We're currently working with the North Lafourche Levee District to repair a cross culvert that's in the levee. Highway 20 and Cascade Drive drainage improvements. We made a site visit to assess the issues with the drainage and discuss corrective action. A work order has been approved and the work will take place within the next 2 weeks. We will study the drainage conditions after the improvements have been made and discuss further action if needed. West 58th Street drainage improvements. Drainage improvements were to be completed this week, weather permitting. They're hoping for Thursday. If not, it'll be Monday of next week. We are awaiting quotes on the driveway and catch basin construction from a contractor, or a few contractors, I should say. West 55th Street drainage improvements. We'll make a site visit this week or next to determine a plan of action and start this project. And finally, the McLeod pump station. The pilings have been driven. The structure was prefabbed and is being placed on the piles this week. The pump and the engine to be installed within the next 2 to 3 weeks, weather permitting. Any questions?
Go ahead, Mr. Belvin.
Hey, thank you for that, Dylan. I appreciate it. Very thorough. Real quick, I guess I'll start with Cyprian. I know that before President Sasson was elected, he and I attended a meeting with Andre Danos and I think Mr. James Barnes at the time, and we were informed that there was some sliding on the Cyprian pump station. Now, unlike Dugard, that was not a grant, and I know that there was some back and forth over how we were going to go about designing that pump station from the get-go. It's in the past. However, where we are now is how it was originally supposed to be built, my understanding. But I just wanted to know, definitely before it's signed off, because, you know, it says completion, towards completion. I'd hate to see the taxpayers get hung with a bad job if there is one, and I'm told there is. I'm just wondering, what is the game plan for that?
We are in discussions right now with the project manager, the engineer. There has been no determination on that, but we're talking to them. And it does say working towards completion. I don't think it's very near completion. We're
Yes,
just-
sir. Okay.
We're just taking care of a few items that need to be addressed before it gets
Right,
to that
yes,
stage.
sir. And,
So I'll check in on that for you.
Thank you, and, that's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so just a couple of things on the Lafourche Community Center. Just for the council to know, one of the things we talked about, and I did send an email, was the possibility of putting the Lafourche Parish logo or the shape of the parish at center court. I think it would be neat. So I don't know if that's being pushed. I don't want to get lost. I know it was just an email that I sent. Because the second part of that was the possibility of hanging a curtain to divide the court to have volleyball on both sides. I don't know if that's been discussed. I didn't see that comment, so I'm just, those two items, just curious.
So I did have a conversation today with John from the Rec District, to finish up the striping colors. We did tell him that we were gonna do the parish seal or the logo, in the mid-court. And we are working with onshore, there's to hang some additional basketball goals in there. So when we do that, then we are gonna do the curtain for the volleyball.
Awesome. That'll bring it in line with what Raceland had. That's a really neat option when you have two volleyball games going inside the court. I'll just make a comment. I'm so thankful to see the Lockport boat launch finally getting attention after so many years of being worn down. I stopped to see the demolition. I was there maybe 5 minutes, and a resident pulled up and started hollering and cursing, saying that we need more fishing spots and yada yada. So it was like, I told him to hold on. Things are coming. Things are coming. So I'm appreciative to see a lot of activity there, as well as the rest of my constituents. Any further questions for Dylan? Thank you for that report, Dylan. We certainly appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Brings us to item L, questions for the administration. Have we sufficed all of them?
Wait, I got a couple.
Go ahead, Mr. Lorraine, you got it.
Archie, this project was done before you took office. The Delaware structure project in the Bay Lafourche from the intercoastal to wherever they went. The parish put up about 250,000, 200 came from BP funds, and they did a good job. It's very, very nice to see something clean and safety of the people. But I saw now I don't know what the reason is. There's one boat on the south end, seems like a nice fiberglass boat that's still sunk. Now, there may be a reason for it, I don't know. I would think it's still a good boat, if probably the motor's no good, but the boat itself is gonna be good. But it's still sunk, so do you know anything on that?
So Mr. Lorraine, I'll have a presentation. I'm gonna have the freshwater district here at the next meeting. We actually have it on the agenda. The reason though, there are a few small boats that they didn't grab with the big company because the freshwater district's equipment can handle the smaller vessels. So they're aware there's actually more than just that one, but they're gonna be able to handle that in-house. And you're correct, it was $200,000 from BP money by this parish, by this council, which I was thankful, and the administration that moved it forward. And the freshwater district put up 50,000, that was the other 50. But the reason you still see a few boats is because their feeling is that they can handle them in-house, which makes sense.
That's what,
Yep.
I figured there was something wrong, but I mean, just, not many, there's just a couple of them, but that's
correct.
That fiberglass boat looks real good. I guarantee when you pick it up, it's still good. No, I don't want it. I got one that's broken. But anyway, also, I don't want to put you on the spot, but for 4 years at Valentine Bridge, we picking up all these boats, beautiful bayou, and that's the most eyesore they have in this parish is that Valentine Bridge. Do you have any plans for that?
So we've begun some initial discussions internally about working with an engineering firm to get some cost estimates to see what it would cost to actually pull a structure out. I did have a conversation with Mr. Richard Browning, who is the director of the Jestic facility for state police up in Zachary. They have an interest actually in the barge to help do some emergency preparedness and some other first responder training. So then at that point, all we would have had left was the approach apron. So we're working on that.
Because for 4 years, the previous administration did nothing, and you're cleaning the bayou, which I praise you, and all these pilings are just falling. Come on, man.
I'm here to help.
Delaware structure.
Yeah, it's actually a little less than 4 years because the first year I was in office, I got all the phone calls from people pulling their mufflers off the bottom of their cars that our risk manager had to handle. But I will comment that there is still a capital outlay request to replace that bridge. So I don't know how that impacts with some of the removal of any structure. Once you remove it, will we ever see a bridge there? So please take into consideration if that impacts any future activity, because that is a huge, so last week when we had to head on the two 18-wheelers shut down Highway 3 from 5:30 in the morning to about 4 p.m., from Bellevue, and then we ended up having a head-on at the Bellevue Bridge because of the congestion. That's because that Valentine Bridge wasn't there. So I see that as a fire chief on a regular basis. So just be mindful that our previous state rep did do a capital outlay request for replacement of that bridge.
So
So to be exact, I'm before you.
Go ahead.
To be exact, from that bridge to the south is 4.2 miles, and to the north is 4 miles. So it's not quite in the middle, but it's close.
Very close. That's absolutely correct.
Age before beauty, I get it. As part of what we're gonna look at when we talk about taking it out, we're also gonna look at kind of a rehab cost. I think that cost is gonna be astronomical and something we can't afford. But and most of you people in the room know about the airport access corridor project that we've teamed up with the port to do. And the discussion has always been, and this goes back to when I was here before, that once that bridge is built, the Galliana pontoon will basically become obsolete, and then we could float the pontoon from Galliana up to Valentine. Well, I knew his light was going to come back on.
I'll take it, because a fire truck can cross that pontoon. Now, the 18-wheelers that cross it are always coming to me at the chemical plant, so that's unfortunate, and I can deal with that. But my fire trucks can absolutely roll across that pontoon bridge, so I'll take it.
The only thing with that, we got about $6 million in road sales tax too in there. We'll be able to sell it to you, but we won't be able to give it to you.
Cooperative endeavor agreement. We can do some kind of CEA. Okay, any further questions for the administration? There being none, we move it to item M, the council reports, presentations, updates, and our questions. I will make a comment that at the next meeting, we will have on the agenda to discuss the second meeting in February. I will be requesting that we dispense because that is going to be Mardi Gras Day. Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, last night, Miss Wendy Thibodeau, they formed the Lafourche Council on Governments Incorporated. Very interesting. And Mr. William Boo Adams showed up, Jerry Jones, Michael Grove, Delyn Boudreau, and myself, and the parish president. And that was at the LaRose Civic Center, and they had judges, they had the DA, they had a lot of, all elected people. And the next one's on April the 27th, and then July 27th, then October 26th. So if y'all could make it, so let it be.
So it'll be once a quarter, essentially?
Yeah, it was very interesting, and it seems like they formed the board, like the mayors and then port commission, school board. It was a mixture of everybody. So they just try, and she's the one spearheading that, and I think it's something that may work. We'll see what happens.
So one of her fears was that it was going to be a room full of egos. Was that the case or no?
No.
So I'm glad that didn't turn out like that.
No.
Good.
No, it went well. It went well.
Good.
And
good.
Well, maybe I could see. I better not say what I want to say. We got a new business in the 10th Ward, Mr. Ronis.
Yeah, and they're doing phenomenal. Unbelievable. Phenomenal. Mr. Ronnie's is kicking butt. Okay, anything else, Mr. Lorraine? Anyone else have anything, council reports? Item in discussion. Last call. Anything else to be discussed? There be none. We got a motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Paraloo, that there's no further business. So they move that Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of January 28, 2020 be adjourned at 19:04, which is 7:04 p.m. Ms. Carlene.